And we're back with our panel. I made reference to that as we went into the break, but everybody in the industry, in the journalism field, is talking about alternative fact. Now, we've heard a lot about that from President Trump's spokeswoman, Kellyanne Conway. What are your thoughts on alternative facts?
Well, the fake news, I put that in that category too. I think there's a war between the administration and the news media, and it's going to be a 4-year war. And one example, this pool reporter that went into the White House, the Oval Office, and said that they removed the bust of Martin Luther King, was not true. Now he later said that wasn't true.
He recounted and apologized.
Right.
Pretty quickly.
But he was pretty quick to try, and that was with the racial feeling in the country right now. That's a pretty bad mistake to make.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it is.
It was. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's considering, I've heard, booting the press out of the White House, maybe expanding the size of the White House press corps area so that he can bring in a lot of alternative media, maybe drown out the voices of people who consider themselves the gatekeepers. I think the problem is the Washington press corps has gotten very lazy. They care more about access, and if you have access to an administration that is trading in disinformation, I think you ought to be sending interns to the press conferences, and I think the reporters who are the senior people ought to be out sourcing, digging up information, and being a watchdog like they're supposed to be.
That could be applied to groups much smaller than the ones that cover the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, that can go right down to the ranks
Right,
in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
right.
And it's an economic thing. They can't shell out the money they used to shell out.
Right.
For good
Investigative reporting
work,
is,
for photojournalists, for anything else. They just don't have it.
yeah.
So we've got kids out there that want to be Woodward and Bernstein. They don't have the tools. They're not equipped yet.
Right.
To run rampant through the street.
But I don't think anyone is entitled to give out alternate facts. Facts are facts, and I hope that we're operating in an environment where they still are, and everyone agreed that the crowd size was smaller. You could see it with your own eyes, and I think it's a silly point for him to waste his first couple days of his presidency on.
Well, it's capital he's expending.
Right.
And why? The crowd was smaller.
It's ego.
So be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
Yeah.
Let
and
it
you
go.
could see photos were taken in the same area.
Yeah. Stop
So
trying to argue.
what?
I mean, yeah. I think she overplayed her hand and kind of. I think she'll be reminded of that statement a lot, but who
Well,
knows?
the argument was that it was the most watched inaugural, and if you, I think CNN had 15 million viewers, and you had Kent TV. I watch it, and
That's what the problem is.
if you look at online and everything, who knows what the number
Yeah.
was? It was
I think they
a
were
lot of
trying to-
people watch it, though. I mean,
Sure.
people I run around with, they all were just
I watched
glued
it.
to the TV set.
I think you can't conflate audience, TV with the crowd size. I think that's what was happening, though. Yeah, but I agree. If you wrap in, viewership, I would expect every inauguration is watched more than the last.
think, too, something that troubles me is I have the distinct impression that President Trump has given a lot of folk out there permission, if you will, to hit people they don't like or they don't trust or they don't believe in if they're saying something about someone in the news that they don't agree with. He's also given, in a roundabout way, people permission to do things to women that are totally unacceptable. And by giving certain mentality permission to do something, well, it's good enough for the president, I can do it too. And that sort of thing has got, it's totally, that's not what we're about.
Well, when you have a new administration, I think this media ban is a temporary thing because I think that they're paranoid about the idea of the people issuing press releases that are contrary to what he ran on in his campaign and taking, and causing a internal battle. So I think that's why that occurred, and I don't think that will last for very long.
And the agencies, I don't think they've confirmed heads of those agencies yet.
Right.
Like the EPA, Scott Pruitt hasn't had his confirmation yet.
Yeah, it's actually kind of a tempest in the teapot because the city of Tulsa even has a rule that their employees, as administration, you want to speak with one voice. Now if they're
makes
silencing
sense. I can
scientists and
understand, yeah.
stuff and saying we can't tell people that this is happening and this is happening, that's a different thing. But I think wanting to speak with one voice and wanting people to understand what the company line is understandable.
All right, better move on. Transco pipeline flowing from the Gulf Coast to New York City. Gas goes south as well as north, which ups the value of Williams Company. Investors are real happy about this, but it also invites another takeover bid. Should we expect it?
I would think so.
And if it happens, what happens to Tulsa?
I assume the city will fight again to try and keep it and maybe make this the headquarters or an associate branch of whatever company buys it, but I think we're in for another fight.
And if we lose,
Then we lose jobs.
how many?
I think there's about 1,000, isn't
Yeah, it's
there?
about 800, 1,000 mainly
Very good
management-
jobs too, by the way.
management jobs.
We went through part of this before, didn't we? Not too long ago, and some of those jobs never came back.
It's really up to the board and the shareholders. I mean, when I looked at the previous Williams deal that was on the table, and it was very clear that the majority of the board was sort of favoring leaving for that company that wanted to buy Williams. So I think it just depends on what the board wants and what the shareholders want.
Real ID going to pass this time?
Hopefully. Otherwise, we'll be taking our passports to the airport.
A portion of it really has. I mean, we have a situation in the legislature that if you want to get one that's biometric, you can get one in Oklahoma. That's going to happen for sure. So if people that work at Tinker Air Force Base, they can get their driver's license to be Real ID ready. But so far, if anybody doesn't want that, they don't have to get that. I mean, other just regular people.
Well, and with a new administration, I mean, heck, who knows? Maybe it could be rolled back.
Boy, that's true. I mean, good Lord. Okay, sexual harassment legislature. One was settled for $45,000 taxpayer dollars, and the investigation into it so far has cost $33,000. How far is this going to go before somebody says, enough, it's time for you to resign, or
I think we might see a conclusion sometime next week.
really?
When the panel is supposed to report out before the legislative session begins. And, you were talking earlier about money that no one has a record of. This $44,000 came from all practical purposes, some sort of legislative slush fund that's not on the books. So there needs to be a lot of investigation into that.
Yeah, one of the problems is the speaker who approved that, Scott Hickerson. No.
Jeff.
Yeah. He is no longer in office. He was term limited out. And there's also a Democrat now that's been charged with that too. So it's a mess.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of money that we can't find, Tulsa County Jail Inmate Fund, is that going to be another big scandal?
Well, I mean, it was under the previous sheriff, and it was a problem that the auditors pointed out every year in the county's routine audit. I did a story about this before Stanley Glanz left office, and it was just complete neglect. I mean, at some point, the county commissioners bear some responsibility. They're signing all these checks, they're seeing these audits, presumably, and they didn't do anything. So I think this audit found that they had an employee who stayed there and kind of robbed the place blind. But as I understand it, it's been fixed and cleaned up. So hopefully there won't be a repeat of what
Is
happened.
anybody going to serve time over this?
The DA he said it was reading it, reviewing the possible charges. They clearly have the records. She admitted stealing money, so they have the records that they need to do that if DA chooses to.
I'll tell you a real problem the jail's going to face from now on is the passage of 780, State Question 780, which makes all drug possession a misdemeanor. So that means that the people that would have been charged with felonies and go to state prison are now going to go to county jails. That means a lot of people in Tulsa.
We don't have that kind of room.
Nope.
Just in passing, when you go to convenience stores, some of them have these little arrest newspapers. Have you guys looked at those?
Jailbirds and they make a lot of money too. You can pay them to remove pictures from their system. So it's quite a racket.
I've been looking at those, while I'm standing there
They're
waiting for my
entertaining.
change, and it's incredible how many ugly people get arrested.
It's a very scary looking folks that
Pretty
wanna-
people are okay.
Thank you so much. John. Hey, we're out of time. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And watch where you park.
I will.
That's all
City
the
of Norman.
time we have for this edition of our Get Together. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again next time.